Hey guys, I don't usually show my face on social media, and I just wanted to do something a little different, more personable. I know I do take breaks focusing on mental health, and I just wanted to be more personable right now and talk about mental health and bring awareness and more precisely about cyclothemia, it being a rare mood disorder. I don't really think it's as rare as people think they are. I think that the diagnosis of having cyclothemia is what's rare. And I just want to bring out awareness to mental health and the need for taking care of your health and finding help and finding comfort in whatever you choose to do to figure that out. If you deal with mood swings or you think it's part of your personality trait or just who you are, and you do relate with like bipolar and such, but you don't fit the criteria for it, then I do want to bring out that cyclothemia could be something that you could look into if you're searching. And I just want to reach out to those who are and kind of explain a little bit about my story. Now, I do believe that mental health has always been a part of my life from a really young age. But a lot of times they say it's not until you reach the age between 20 and 25 that something comes out of it. And I feel like that was the case for me. We had the pandemic, we had the shutdown, and we had no social contact. And I feel like that's when it all just kind of really escalated. Like, it was there and I couldn't ignore it, I couldn't work through it, and I knew something was off. And I really did some deep searching. And I actually, prior to getting help and going to therapy, I came across cyclothemia. And I was like, this is it. This sounds like me. I'm not crazy. And so I knew what was involved and how hard it is to get a diagnosis, that I already started journaling. I started doing charts. I started doing daily journaling. I ended up doing color coding, like all of that up till going to therapy. And it really helps. Like, they told me because of that, they were able to diagnose me with cyclothemia very quickly. So I'm very fortunate for that. So if something's going on, then it's a really good idea to keep track, to keep notes, because you think you're going to remember that, but when you go in there and they're like, what's going on? You're like, I don't know. So, but I also wanted to bring out, because it is rare and a lot of people have not heard of it. My therapist actually went on a search and she found a really good book. I'm not sure where she got it, but I did find it on Amazon. And it's called the Psychothemia Workbook. And unfortunately, everything in here is stuff that I've already learned prior to. The only difference is the person who wrote this does have a PhD. And I felt like a lot of this was really accurate. So if you're interested in that, I definitely recommend you checking that out, because I did find that you can get it on Amazon. If you're working through stuff, it has graphs, it has charts, it has pages for journaling, it has questions. So obviously, if you do have something going on, I do recommend to get help and therapy. It does help. But this can also set you in the right direction. Like, stuff that I've been journaling that I thought I was making up is right in this book. See, we got charts. You can see that right on Instagram that I created that chart, or I thought I created that chart. So I just want to go through a little bit of like what really hit me. It's got a few experiences of people and how it affected them, but it sounds like they were a lot older than I was when I found all this out, and I'm very thankful that I did sooner rather than later. So I'm going to start right here. The first page describes exactly what it is. Almost everyone has heard of depression or clinical depression as a serious mental health condition. Many people have also heard of bipolar disorder, otherwise known as manic depression. However, few people have ever heard of cyclothemic disorder or cyclothemia. In fact, the majority of those who are familiar with this condition either work at a mental health field or struggle with the condition themselves. If you have been diagnosed with cyclothemia, or are wondering whether you might have it, you may have discovered that there is little information readily available about this illness. And I did actually find cyclothemia online. There's a little bit about it, but there's not a whole lot of research done on it. It does bring out that it estimates that cyclothemia affects 0.4 to 1% of the population, which translates to 1.2 million and nearly 3 million Americans. And it does go into about how they don't have a lot of information on it, that they wish to. So a lot about the, I don't know what you call it, the psychoeducation of me and telling people about it and bringing awareness to it, I hope helps those out there who are searching and looking for an answer, who have never heard of this. So it goes over different people. We've got some charts here. It does call it a mild form of bipolar disorder because that's the only thing they have it underneath it. They call it the third type. While there are more severe bipolar disorders that often require medication to help stabilize moods, those with cyclothemia may not need medication to manage their symptoms, particularly if they have good coping skills, develop supportive relationships, and recognize their symptoms early. It does go in here and does go over the types of therapy that could help. There are different types of medications that you could do, but they are more known to help bipolar. But it goes over all of that if you feel like that's necessary. Unfortunately, we don't really know as much as we need to know about some cyclothemic disorder. Anywhere from 15 to 20% of those with cyclothemia will actually develop a full-blown bipolar disorder. So again, if you feel like you're having some cyclothemic symptoms, again, get help, because it does mention that if these are not treated and it gets bad enough, it could escalate to an actual bipolar. It is interesting to note that if you do have a close relative who has a mental disorder or even bipolar disorder, it is more likely that not only will you have bipolar, but it's possible that somebody could have cyclothemia. It also mentions that something like this could actually even skip a generation. So again, if this is something you're interested in, I definitely check out that book on Amazon. It has full of stuff, everything that they know on it right now. It is interesting to note that cyclothemia actually could mimic other things. People could be misdiagnosed. Such stuff could even come on, but it says like the flu or some other symptoms, head injury, a brain disorder, a stroke, tremors, epilepsy, Huntington's disease. So it can mimic things from different points of view, but a lot of times it is hereditary or what is made up in the brain. Something else that I have also wondered too is people wonder if cyclothemia, is it much different than a random moodiness? Is it part of a personality trait? Is it just who you are? But notice that it says that to qualify as a disorder, there must be a clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning as a result of a mood disturbance. Normal moodiness should not lead to such problems. Normal moodiness may not last longer than a few moments or hours, occasionally a few days. But a person without a mood disorder may withdraw for a time, may be snappy, irritable in relationships, or maybe briefly feel uninterested in regular activities. Similarly, with those with cyclothemia, they tend to experience frequent mood swings that can go from one extreme to another very quickly. With normal moodiness, there are generally not rapid or extreme shifts in a person's mood. Normal moodiness also differs from cyclothemia in how feelings and behaviors influence daily functioning. With depressive symptoms of cyclothemia, a person's ability to concentrate or make decisions may be impaired. It may require great effort to accomplish simple tasks. Normal moody behaviors and feelings do not tend to affect a person's daily functions significantly. It's also interesting to note that even though cyclothemia can be misdiagnosed, and it's it also is possible to have more than one mental disorder at a time. So when you go to a doctor or to a therapist, they're probably going to ask you all sorts of questions to draw out the true answer of what's really going on. And even though they diagnosed me very quickly, they felt like it was right. They did say, hey, down the road, as we do this, if something else pops up and we misdiagnose, then we'll change it. But unfortunately, after all the times I've been going all these months, it has not been changed, and it is pretty solid in being cyclothemia. The illness of cyclothemia can make you feel, think, and behave in certain ways. No one really chooses to have a devastating mood swings and problems in relationships, and no one chooses to live with the effects of diabetes or medical illnesses. But a person must learn to manage and live with the impact of medical illnesses, and the same is true with cyclothemia. So the treatments for cyclothemia, we have psychotherapy, which is something that I am doing. Psychotherapy is pretty much talk therapy. It has been shown to be useful for the treatment of bipolar disorder as well, as it mentions. I cannot pronounce this. We're going to call it CBT, who I am doing that as well, cognitive behavioral therapy. It is a structural therapy that emphasizes focusing on identified problems in your present life. CBT is also based on the premise that how you perceive and think about the world directly influences how you feel and behave. Using the techniques of CBT, you can learn to identify and modify negative thoughts before they lead you down to a path of distress. I had a thought process based on that, and that kind of went poof. And something it mentions later too is they'll teach you how to really know how it works with you, to identify what they call red flags. They also mention like triggers, but I feel like I don't really have any triggers. Like something might happen and like it will set you off, but I feel like they don't really set me off unless I'm already tilting to one direction or the other. So you'll start to notice with yourself like a shift. I feel like I understand where I am most of the time. Like today, I just feel really tired. Day or two, I've been kind of heading up for mania, so I think I'm coming back down as long as I don't go into depression mode. So like you kind of like understanding it, like psychoeducation, I feel like for me really helped. Also an experience on here, it does Maria. I really felt this when she says, an interesting thing I learned is that some of the most famous writers and artists I have struggled with mood disorders or problems, including bipolar disorder. And since I am a writer, maybe I can tap into the creativity and keep the bad stuff from happening. And I feel like I do that. I put myself in my writing and my books and my music, and I shut everything out. It like gives me a break from the world, and I wish I can crawl in it and live in it forever. Alright, and then psychoeducation, which I am doing as well, simply means educating people with mental illnesses about various aspects of their condition, or telling other people. That was a big thing with therapy. She goes, you're going to start to tell. You're going to tell your family, you're going to tell your friends. How's your blogging? How's your social media? You want to support other people. And for a long time, I didn't want to talk about it. Like, I knew it, but once it was official, it hit differently. Like, I stopped talking to people. I'm very bad at texting people and communicating with people anymore. I didn't tell people at work right away. Like, it was a very sensitive issue, but now that everything's soaked in, I'm like, okay, well, here it is. Here's information. This is how it is with me, and I want to reach out to those who are searching as well. Another thing they have is family therapy. Family-focused psychoeducational treatment. So whether you live with your parents or you're married or living with a partner, it does go on about educating them about, it says bipolar or cyclothemia, have a communication skill training, problem solving skill training together, or even therapy together. I'm not in a relationship, so I feel like I'm sparing people because I feel like a burden, but I could see how that future prospect for anyone with cyclothemia, you'd have to be really open. There's got to be that really open communication, and I know that's something that's probably going to be hard for me down the road, because I feel like being open makes me feel really vulnerable. But if you're in that situation and you're dealing with mental illness, then it's got a whole section for that as well. We have interpersonal and social rhythm therapy. So in short, I'm not going to read that. A lot of times people with mental health really need a schedule. When to go to bed, when to eat, when to have a snack. If something like that is thrown off, that can throw off your moods as well. Now they do have a section on medications. They're called mood stabilizers. And I am not actually going down that road. Everything seems to be going good. If it does get bad enough in some people, they may want to do that. So that is an option to look into as well. I do want to say, as I'm flipping through these, it is a big workbook, so it's not really as big and intimidating as it seems. But if you've been dealing with mental health and perhaps you think you have cyclothemia and you've been dealing with it a long time and not known it, you really do have to be patient with yourself. Not everything is fixed very quickly. We live in a world where you have medications, or you find a situation, you fix it, and everything's good. You're gonna have to get used to your new normal never being normal. And we're still flipping. But I feel like I want to continue to bring awareness to cyclothemia through my writing, through my music, past songs that I've written, negative feelings, positive feelings. And I just hope that anybody can find a peace about it, knowing that I deal with mental health, and so many people out there do too. And things like that should be brought more awareness to. I know people have said it's stuff that you shouldn't talk about, but I think we should. And we're gonna keep flipping, so. And some of this too, personally, that I've already done a bunch of journaling. Like, there's a lot of questions and stuff you can fill out, but like, I feel like I've already went through all this, so I didn't fill anything out. But if you're new to this, then it's definitely good. It's definitely good. Talks about mood swings, spotting your red flags. And this is getting boring. A lot of these in the back is just graphs. Obviously, it does recommend journaling. Something very similar, like I said, I do color coding, where they have some of these graphs are numbered. So I guess it's whatever you want to do. And in the back, they have a lot of websites, a lot of phone numbers, and addresses if you want more information, or depending on what you feel you need. They have that too, so that's really awesome as well. And I just hope with all this video that you've learned a little bit more. I get a lot of positive feedback of, wow, that was really interesting. How did you come across this? How did you learn about this? How did you know? And I like that. I like your questions, you know, and I do have a few people of like, well, this is why I don't like social media. I don't want to see negative stuff, and I'm not trying to be negative, but I'm over putting on a pretend face. Obviously, I'm tired today. I didn't do my hair. I have very little makeup on, but I want to do this for you no matter how I feel. But I also feel like that's also therapy to me. And I feel like I've come a long way just to do this. So I hope this helps a little bit and spread the word.